Maybe let's start with a question that asks about our specializations. Okay, let me send it up to Slido. Can you see that? Okay, great. So this question asks about the different specializations and asks, how are they different in terms of the modules and career opportunities? So for this, maybe I will ask Prof. Loh, can you to speak on that in terms of the modules, and then I will ask Linda maybe to talk about the career opportunities, okay?
Thanks, Kidwai. So for our business program, at the end of year one, our business student will select a specialization. Currently, we have 6 specializations. Both Dogan and Edward are from our banking and finance. This is a very popular specialization. We also have the business analytics. We also have the human resource consulting. We have the risk analytics. We also have marketing, and we also have the actual science program. So I think, students coming in, often get this impression that, business degree is very general. That's not true, because we gave you the foundation in business, and you can opt to specialize. And each body or each specialization is a body of knowledge. So that gave you the edge, okay? It's not just, business in general, but you learned about the tools, the knowledge that are useful in each of this specialization that are applicable across different function, different industry.
Okay, thank you. Can you, Linda, you would like to share about the career opportunities for these different specializations? Thank you, Linda.
Thank you for the question. As you have heard, we have different specializations, but primarily you are in the business school. And in the business school, you learn broad because you learn about business, and you learn deep because of your specialization. If you talk about a specialization like business analytics, your career opportunities could be in technology, it could be in the banking and finance, it can also be in the Big Four, and you could also be in manufacturing industry where you're doing analytics for them in the manufacturing plant. If you are going to take banking and finance, you definitely have the world of finance before you in investment banking, as well as sales and trading, risk management, operations, treasury, etc. So for the different specializations that you take, most of our students would, in their year one, try to look for an internship that helps them to think about what they want to be doing in the second year, as well as what they want to be doing in their careers, especially in choosing the specializations. If you take human resource consulting, you can go into talent acquisition. At the same time, you could also be in sales and business development. Accounting, for instance, is also the business language, right? And you can actually be in multinational companies where you are in a business analyst role, a pricing role, and even in a sales role or sales and development role. For all the different specializations, I would say that our graduates graduate with very broad and also very deep knowledge within business and within the specialization. I would say that, when you come to the business school, while you are going to decide on the specialization, you do have a world of opportunities for you to explore. Even if you are in a marketing program, you could actually go into the finance industry. You could also be in the technology industry. And this is why we would encourage that you would come in, you would discover through your subjects, you will also discover through your interactions with the industries and the employers, and we'll bring in the speakers from industries that tell you about what is evolving and what is happening in the current roles. And at the same time, it doesn't stop there, because other than your academic subjects that you're doing in your specializations, you're going to learn about what is important and what are the skills that you should continue to take when you are still at university, whether you're in year one or year two or year three. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Thanks, Linda. Some say that business is a very general course, and some might even say useless. What are your thoughts on this? I think for this, let me ask the Dean, okay, Prof. Christina, so to answer that, and maybe also our 2 alumni who themselves have business degrees, and maybe they can share with us how useless they think a business degree is. Okay, Prof. Christina, Dean, thank you.
Yeah, clearly I believe that there's great value in an accounting and a business degree. Having one myself, it is a very definite body of knowledge. It is wrong to think that you can go out and just pick it up in an informal way later on. quite, you get a far stronger foundation here. And more importantly is that the way that we structure it, because it's also interdisciplinary, there is enough breadth also for you to hook into the other areas that you need to know. So I myself have an accounting degree, and after 3 years, I switched into information systems at work and went on to do my PhD in information systems, armed only with an undergraduate accounting degree from this school. And yet I was able to make the transition because the foundational training, the accounting and business degrees teach you how to think, how to analyze problems, give you a very strong quantitative background, as well as social science background. And if you look at the job opportunities out there, so, it makes us very good boundary spanners. And if you look at the job opportunities out there, if you look, there's a continuum. There's at one end, very technical science and tech jobs. At the other end, the extremely super business only type jobs. But increasingly, the space where the demand and greatest value generation is in the middle. People who can integrate and boundary span between these two domains. And my own personal experience, and this has been true, and you can hear it in my story, in Edward's story, in Dugang's story, that we are somehow, NBS turns out great boundary spanners. It's because we have this depth in business or accounting, and accounting for those who are in ACBS. And yet, because we're in a tech science and tech university, somehow it's also in our DNA. We know a little bit about, this and that, and we're very comfortable going back and forth. And we're very high value adders when you bring folks like our alumni into organizations, which is why I believe they're all doing very interesting things. Every time I talk to them, I learn so many things because they're just generating lots of interesting ideas at these boundaries and intersections. Yeah. Let me hand over to our alumni and let them give you their views.
Hello, can everyone hear me? Perfect. I think it's best to answer this question with maybe 3 anecdotes, and I'll keep it short. The first is in my first job, one of the first cases I was put on was to actually calculate the market size of a particular industry. And one of the modules that I took in NBS was very helpful, and that was the corporate finance module, where I learned how the P&L moved into the cash flow statement, how the cash flow statement affected the balance sheet. And I have to say, I wouldn't have been able to crack that first case if not for this very powerful module in NBS. And that's story number 1. Story number 2 is at my current job in Glyn's, where I lead the fundraising team. And another module saved me in my job, and this was the business law and company law module, because now I know how to draft shareholder agreements, I know how to update the company's constitution. So again, very helpful in helping me in my job. And the third is that now that I am a hiring manager, I actually want to hire business students that can help me build financial models, that can lead and facilitate a business discussion with the executive team. So again, another data point for the audience to consider. And I think these 3 stories would kind of prove my point that, a business degree is not very general. In fact, it can be quite useful. Edward, anything to add?
Sure, no, those are great anecdotes. Maybe I'll pick up the question a bit. I think when you say it's useless, it depends, or useful, it really depends in what context. Admittedly, if you're studying a business degree, you won't be able to build buildings. You won't be able to cure people of disease. You won't be able to do a lot of things. But at the same time, it also lets you do a lot more. I really love the Dean's anecdote about, where the world's moving to. And I really see parallels in my career. Maybe not so much in engineering, but in impact. So I worked in impact investing. And the parallels which you can draw within business with my foundation in business, as well as the kind of impact stories I'm both learning on the ground as well as through my master's, it's quite incredible. It's quite interesting. I did not see that when I was studying it at all. But now, currently, I'm opportunities are opening up to me in ways which just was not possible because if I had just had an impact background, I wouldn't have been able to get into impact investing. I wouldn't be able to get into the rooms which I'm in. I'm working together with, for example, the Global Steering Group for Impact Investments, mapping the entire impact investing system globally, and working with heads of some of the largest funds around the world and interviewing them and talking to them. And I'm able to do that because I have foundation in business and whatever else I could pick up on the side to impact. Same thing about impact measurement and same thing about impact investing. I'll be teaching executives in their 40s and 50s over summer about impact investing. Why? Because very, very few people had a foundation in both worlds, both on practical note as well as in academia, and being able to do that kind of work. Now, the question is, can you pick up business skills on the side, even if you do another degree? The frank answer is yes, but you can do that for almost everything else, whether it's engineering, whether it's whatever else, maybe except for a few professional fields, like, if you're practicing medicine or like a practicing lawyer, but even then, you could do degrees on the side, you could pick up certificates on the side. That's not really an issue either. So I think it depends on what you mean by useful, but for me, the foundation in business, the foundation in accounting has been incredibly synergistic with my other work in impact, in tech, and having NBS to kind of secure that one pillar, while giving me the space within NBS to explore and secure the other pillars, has been incredibly useful. 2 years out of university, 2 years out of graduation, and I'm in places which I just wouldn't have imagined being in just a couple of years ago because of the foundation which NBS gave me.
Thank you so much. Okay, great. What are some of the other industries that accountancy students go into besides accounting-related jobs? And another one, related question is, are accountancy students allowed to go for non-accountancy-related internships? So maybe for this, we can start off by having Linda tell us of the career opportunities and internship opportunities of accounting students. Linda, please.
Thank you for the question. Accounting is the language of all businesses, and many of our students do go to the Big Four, such as PwC, Deloitte, and they do provide good training. But for our graduates, if you do not want to join, there are many exciting starting points. And certainly accountancy graduates can join the multinational company, can join banking, can join financial institutions, pharmaceutical company, and they can be in finance-related roles as well as non-finance related roles. Many of them are also management associates in huge multinational companies. And they are there because they are looking at business, they are looking at the what you call accounting statements, they're looking at the P&L, and they're actually groomed to be the future CFO or even the COO of these great companies. And these companies, I would name them, they are like J&J, for instance. We have Thermo Fisher, which is pharmaceutical, General Electric. We have DFS, which is in the supply chain of luxury goods. There are multiple companies and MNCs that would actually take our accountancy students. So you do not have to necessarily have an internship in an accounting firm. It is up to you to discover and chart your own path. If you decide to go into an accounting firm, for instance, many of them do it for the experience as well, because it is also very good training at the same time, but they are actually getting into the rudimentary of what you call the finance, the finance and the life of a company. These are all very good basic building blocks for an accountancy undergraduate to actually build a block into the multinationals and into finance roles. So for internships, again, I say you do not have to go into accounting roles. There's always tax roles, audit roles. You can also go into marketing. You can also be in finance and even strategy and consulting roles. Analytics as well. And I hope that answers your questions. And we will also take more of it in the Zoom room later if you want, and we can be more specific about it.
Thank you, Linda. I don't know whether, Dean, you have anything to add to that, because just now you were talking about, you started off with an accountancy degree and then moved on to other things.
Yeah, there are many. For sure, you do not have to stay as an accountant with an accounting degree. Most of my classmates, and all through the years as well, more than half of us have branched out in other areas. But it's also wonderful to have an accounting degree and to start in accounting, because many of us, especially, I was the girls, we don't go through NS, so I was a bit younger, right? I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do, and I went to work for an audit firm. In the first 2 years that I was there, I got to see the insides of 10 different industries, from retail to commodities brokings to oil and gas, you name it. And it was wonderful. And that accounting degree helped me to understand the inside of the business. And while I was messing around trying to understand the business through the books, I also started to sense the role of technology. Back then in the 80s, it was very emergent. That's actually what got me excited. And I decided to go and start looking, and very much as Edward said, very quietly, night classes. I was taking little technology courses back in the 80s. Singapore didn't even have a computer science degree back then. It was just these little diplomas. And then just got interested enough to eventually get myself off to go and do a PhD. But I've never become a true techie. It's always been at the intersection of finance, accounting, and business, and information systems. Right? So that was my story. Not very different from many of the other accounting alumni.
Okay. Thank you, Dean. Next question, which actually talks specifically about technology and digitalization. And so this question asks, how does NBS Accountancy prepare its students for digitalization, and are they competitive compared to other business schools? Maybe let's start with Dean again for a general overview, and then maybe Prof. Kin would like to talk about the specifics of this. So how does NBS Accountancy prepare the students for digitalization, and are they competitive compared to other business schools?
Right. So I think I have a personal, particularly strong view about this, because for a long time I was the head of the Division of IT and Ops Management in NBS, and we were responsible for the 2 information systems courses in the first year and the second year that all accountancy students must take. And we have always been very proud of our ownership of those 2 courses, and very thoughtful about the design, and very aggressive about benchmarking the design to the best in class globally. So the first year course, we spent a lot of time making sure that the first year course, which the business students also take, gives everybody in the cohort in business and accountancy a full range of understanding of all the different ways in which technology is used in organizations, as well as some hands-on. And then in the second year course, we switched gears very rapidly. Second year is accountancy, very focused on technology as it is used in the accounting profession. We are probably the only program in Singapore where our students can take the second year accounting IS course, and then with a little bit of extra work, get SAP certificate. So that's the level at which we take it. We actually feel that for a long time, we were at the forefront. More recently, in the last 6 or 7 years, we've also been adding huge amounts of analytics. Again, we saw this wave coming. And then Kin will talk about it, because they've been driving that even further. There's now analytics minor and so on. So I'm going to pass on to him to talk about some of the recent developments.
Yeah. Thanks, Chris. So to build on what Chris shared earlier, so when students come to join us in year 1, in fact, the very first semester, you'll be taking a digital course. In fact, that course is now part of NTU 2025, interdisciplinary, collaborative core courses. So you will be taking courses taught by the domain expert from the School of Computer Science and Engineering, and you will be doing it together with other students from other colleges and schools. And so there will be group project where you will come together. And in fact, one of the ideas we have for the course is to have an industry-sponsored project. So students will be actually tackling real-life problems, through that course. And of course, that is your year 1. And then we have our own, digital courses. And that's where Chris referred to the accounting information system, where students will be exposed, to systems like SAP and down to Xero. Okay, and so that will expose students to sort of a very broad technology base, and then when you pursue your advanced accounting courses, okay, there will be the relevant technology infused into those courses. So for instance, if you are doing the audit course, you'll be learning how to use ACL and other, audit software to interrogate data, to draw, to do your analysis, to draw insight, all right? Because now audit are always risk-based, and you know that, organizations have collected huge amount of data. So instead of doing it on a sampling basis, we'll be actually testing, okay, looking into risk on 100%. You're testing all the transaction. Why? Because you have the tools, and you have analytical skill to do that. And on top of that, besides what we have in the accounting program, we have options for students to even advance their own digital skill further. That's why we roll out a minor in digitalisation and data analytics. And we also now, newly introduced a new double degree program where you can combine accountancy with a degree in data science and AI. And that program is actually ranked, I'm referring to the data science and AI, it's actually ranked top 3 in the world. And it is offered in collaboration with our School of Computer Science. So I think there is a lot of opportunity. If you are interested and you want to, dive deep into it, okay, to pursue that digital, okay, skills in it. Right?
Okay, thank you. So you can see that actually, even though the question asks specifically about how NBS Accountancy prepares our students for digitalization and so on, this is true not only about our accountancy program, it's also true about our business programs. And just now Kinyu was talking about a double degree in accountancy and data science and artificial intelligence. That's one double degree. Another double degree that we have is the one that we've always had with business and computer science or computer engineering. So that's another double degree that we have in collaboration with the School of Computer Science and NTU. So again, leveraging on our position as a leading business school in a top-class, world-class technological university. And I think that for this question, it will be good to get our two alumni to answer this, because it asks this: it seems like finance jobs are increasingly more tech-focused, and thus I have concerns of people with tech degrees having an advantage over finance business students in the future. I want to know how true this is, as I am a ACBS student planning to specialize in banking and finance. And I want to know if we will have good jobs as well. So these exactly are two ACBS students specializing in banking and finance. So Dogen and Edward, do you have good jobs now? Dogen, you want to start off and then we move on to Edward?
Sure, happy to start off. It's the question's a bit small, so I'm having trouble reading it. But I think the gist of the question is whether tech will disrupt traditional business industries and whether that will affect the jobs that you get. I think the answer is a bit nuanced, but I would say it's leaning towards a no, because both Edward and I are now in the tech industry. Edward is in impact investing and invests a lot in tech companies, and for myself, I am in a HR and education tech startup. But to give a bit more flavor to the answer, I would say there are certain industries that are feeling the disruption of technology. And I say this because at one stage when I was interning at Citibank, there was a real fear that technology would disrupt the need for actual sales and traders. And there were traders that were concerned. But I think fast forward to 5 years now, a lot of my friends who were interns at Citibank at that point in time, they're still having jobs now. And in fact, they're all assistant vice presidents now. So I would say, yes, if you have a tech background or if you learn something tech related, it will give you an edge. But it doesn't mean that you have to take a tech degree. Like what Edward said, you can learn a lot of these tech programming stuff on your own at the site. And myself, when I was in NBS, I actually took 3 coding modules, and it's very possible for students who have that interest to take your free electives and go to the School of Computing and take those modules without even having to specialize in, say, AI or data science. But obviously that also helps a lot. So that's my take. Edward?
Sure. Well, in terms of whether I have a job, I don't think I've had a proper job in many years, so might not be the best person to give advice on that. But tech's going to affect everything, and it's really starting to affect everything. I think that's just the way of life. It's disrupted everything, and we see that across time. The Industrial Revolution changed everything. In fact, when the advent of computers came, they were saying that, accountants would become obsolete because computers will calculate everything. It turns out that, the amount of accountants the jobs ballooned by over 4 times because computers made everything more complex. AI is a huge disruptor to things. And I think in terms of whether it would affect business students and whether the landscape will change when you graduate from where it is right now, the answer is a definite yes. Do you have to learn things along the way, even outside of school? Probably yes, too. The NBS isn't going to teach you everything. As much as they teach you and as good a foundation as they give, they aren't going to teach you everything. You have to learn outside. You have to push your boundaries. If you're interested in tech, if you want to work at the intersection of business and tech, go for it. Now, in terms of whether MBS students or business students would have an advantage over tech students, roles really depend. In a tech company, there are people who code, there are product managers who might know how to code a little. And if you want to go into a PM role, for example, that's something which you might have to do and work at the intersection of both. And you have to pick up classes and everything, as Logan said. But there's a whole bunch of other roles, from starting the business and being the entrepreneur starting the business, to sales, to business development, to strategy work. All of these things, business students have an incredible head start. Not to say that technology students can't learn this, but it's the same way that business students could learn technology. They're not incompatible. It's an ever-growing, ever-learning journey. The question is, does business give you a good foundation which is useful into the future? Yes. Is it enough just by itself? Probably not. You probably have to learn a whole bunch of other things. And it's the same for tech as well. If you're coding, yes, you probably could do maybe 90-95% of the work in your first job. But as you become a manager, as you become a CTO, probably not. And that's when our skills become much more useful.
Okay, thank you, Logan. And I think Prof. Christina would like to share a few words as well.
So just to reinforce what's just been said, share a recent experience, because this question is very relevant, and I live it every day, right? Because it is our job to be always in tune with what's happening out there in the world. And tech is changing the nature of jobs. And it is making, if anything, the business and accounting skills even more important, not less. But the flavor is a little different, which is why we keep talking about all the changes in our curriculum. So I'll give you an example. 2 weeks ago, I was on a call with some NTU alumni, technical engineering alumni, who had created a platform. I won't go into the details, but it's basically for green investing, right? And it's actually a very good platform. It's gaining a lot of traction. It's attracting a lot of money. Guess what they're short of? These are very bright people. They are, as our alumni say, trying to learn the business skills to make this go. But they realized they've reached the point where, that platform's very good. They need people who understand the market and the financial instruments well enough to start creating products, viable, high-demand products for this platform. So they came to us, right? And we're injecting the business and accounting folks into this to partner with them to create the products. Not only that, we're actually finding, I was talking some more and some more. The more we look at it, we've had several rounds with them now. We also have to bring in the marketing folks because there is also a consumer adoption element to this. Even if my finance folks create a really superior suite of products, we still have to worry about the marketing, branding, and positioning, right? So it's very clear that the world you are going into is increasingly collaborative. You need deep expertise in tech. We need some people deep expertise in business, in finance, and so on. And then you need to learn how to collaborate, okay? So it's not to say that you should just do tech and don't do business, or just do business and don't worry about the tech. That's not the world anymore, right?
Thank you, Chris. Given that many finance jobs are becoming more tech-focused, are finance degrees still going to be in demand compared to tech degrees? And that's exactly what I think Chris was talking about. You need to collaborate. It's not just a tech degree, it's not just a finance degree. It is going to be a collaborative world where you need deep expertise in many different fields to succeed. Okay. Now, let me move on to something that asks a very practical question, and that I think maybe is something that many of you are thinking about. And this asks a question on what kind of employment stats and starting pay does an ACBS student specifically in banking and finance will command? Okay, and for that, let me pass the mic over to Linda. You want to take that, Linda? Thank you.
Sure. Good question. We have a graduate employment survey, and we have the graduate employment survey of our accountancy and business student, which is the ACBS student. The average salary, and most of our accountancy and ACBS students actually take banking and finance as their specialization. So the median salary for 2020 was 4,400 to 4,500. And this is just a gross salary, which is your monthly salary without any other bonuses or any other benefits. In terms of employment, we have about almost full employment, which is at 97.6%. So that's very close to 98% for our double degree student, which is the ACBS student. As for the other 2%, they could have gone into a startup, or they could have continued with a master's, and so they did not respond to the survey. I think these are very good numbers, and they are actually the highest numbers of salary amongst all the business school for a 4-year program. So the accountancy and business program is a 4-year program. You take 4 years, you get 2 degrees, and you get the highest salary amongst all the business school.
Okay, thank you, Linda, for that encouraging piece of news. There's a question here that asks, what are broadening and deepening electives, and how are they different from the specialization component? And I think, maybe you want to take that question? Thank you.
Yes, so at NTU, your courses can be broadly classified into 2 groups. Those that relate to your primary discipline. So for instance, if you're in accountancy, you'll be doing several accounting courses, plus the foundation, business courses. And then there's another group of courses, what we call the electives. So under the new curriculum, NTU 2025, we call that the broadening and deepening electives. So these are electives where you can take courses from any school, any colleges in NTU, or you can use those courses to pursue a particular area of interest. So you want to deepen, your knowledge in a specific area. So you can do it in the form of a minor, or you can do it in the form of second major in entrepreneur. So you can do whatever you want with the electives. Some of our students use it even to clock up, work and study degree program, where they go on internship up to like 35 weeks, and they actually earn academic units, which fulfill their broadening and deepening electives. So these are electives for you to pursue whatever interest you have in NTU itself.
Okay, thank you. I hope that answers your question. As you can see, I have also put up another question that is very similar onto the screen here, which is asking, I think, something that Kinyo has already answered, which is, can you provide details of the registration process for the following courses and how they are spread over 3 years? The core courses, ICC Common Core, ICC Foundational Core, Broadening and Deepening Elective Specialization component. So I think, you have answered kind of what they are, yeah? Okay. So this one asks about the OEP, the Overseas Entrepreneurship Program, and asks, as a non-scholar, will I be exposed and given opportunities as equally as scholars to programs such as the OEP? For that, I can ask Linda, I think, to discuss that. Would you like to answer the question, Linda?
Sure. Definitely, you will be given the opportunities equally as a scholar to OEP. So OEP is actually open to all students. It is open to students who are interested in an overseas entrepreneurship experience. It is all about how to be an entrepreneur, not that it's how, but when you're in OEP, you're actually overseas, you're in a startup, you could be in China, you could be in Israel. And I know there are many, many other places I could name, but in this last year, unfortunately, we weren't able to send anybody there. It is about learning about entrepreneurship, and it is so exciting because you are going to be in a different environment, which is not in Singapore. We offer also 6 months internships for students and even summer internships, which is all done overseas. So as a student, you are entitled and you can apply for these opportunities. In 2019, before all that COVID started, we sent about 200 students, which is about 25% of a graduating cohort of NBS students overseas to many, many different countries, as far as Santiago, Chile, and as near as Myanmar, closer to home, to the US, to China. So we are always constantly working with overseas corporates, even now, in the hope that we will be sending our group of students, current group of students, for 2022. So let's all cross our fingers. And I really hope to see many of our NBS students, including yourself, when you join us, having that opportunity in OEP as well as in overseas internships provided by the Nanyang Business School.
Thank you, Linda. Chris, would you like to add a few words?
Yeah, I just wanted to circle back to the salary question. Whilst, I'm very happy to hear that our 4-year program has the best starting salary. I just want to affirm that for you all, that's not the thing that you should be using to decide on your program, yeah? I think what we've been trying to convey collectively, all of us on the panel, is that you choose the program that's going to give you the best foundation, the best transformational experience that will set you up for a 40-year productive career. And again, personally, I very consciously I did not choose the job with the highest paying offer. I chose the job that would give me, given that I was a 21-year-old, very unsure of what I wanted to do myself, chose the job that would give me an exposure and a range. And to this day, I think that was really the right thing for me at that time. And, and each person will make a different choice. So don't let looking at starting salaries be the thing that makes you decide which program you want to go into. Okay?
Okay, thank you, Chris. Now, the next question that I'm going to bring up is something that relates to the learning experience in NBS. And this question says, someone mentioned about how classes are conducted seminar style. I think that someone was probably me. Okay. Does this mean that class participation is graded? Prof. Kinyu, would you like to answer that?
Yes. In fact, the short answer is yes. So in the course itself, we have a lot of continuous assessment. So class participation is only one. So there could be other things like group project, in-class presentation, midterm quiz, and also, as part of our pedagogy, students are expected to go to class prepared. And to do that, we get students actually go through a lot of online activity. Could be short video, and then follow up by, series of interactive questions to reinforce your understanding. And marks are actually allocated, to give these students incentive to complete those learning before they come to class. And the whole idea is that so that in class, everyone have that, sort of foundational level of knowledge, and then they can start, to sort of look at more advanced concept and also apply to, real life problems. So there will be small little group discussion. Okay, so students are expected to participate, and perhaps maybe after that, the instructor will randomly choose a group to come and present the ideas, so that they can defend, the proposal in front of everybody. So the instructor there is very much a facilitator. You learn not only from the instructor, but also from your peers through the interaction, through the discussion that you have. And class participation is very important because it actually provides you with opportunity to voice your doubts, to clear your doubts, or even to provide insight, right, for others to think about. So we actually emphasize class participation. And in fact, I think this is also very important when you start your work, because you are expected to work as part of a team. You're expected to voice out, right, to contribute. So I think class participation is a very, it lays the foundation, okay, to build up your communication skills. Okay, so I think, in fact, we mandate class participation in all courses, right? And that's the purpose of it, right?
Yes. So remember when I said that in the NBS classroom, no one is allowed to hide in the corner? I wasn't kidding. You really can't. Okay. Next question I want to bring up, in fact, next two questions I want to bring up is about internships. And these kind of ask questions on the two opposite ends of the spectrum, kind of. One asks, what happens if we fail to secure an internship in our first year? Because we have mentioned that at the end of the first year, we're kind of sending you all out there to get internships. Yeah. And someone then asks about internships, but this one asks, can we extend the 3-year period to do more internships? So for that, I will leave it to our internship expert, Ms. Linda Ong, to answer that. And maybe also our two alumni would like to chip in, seeing as how they did either very many internships or they extended maybe the candidature period. Yeah, Linda, would you like to start?
Certainly. In 2019, we have students going on the first year internships, and this is mandatory for them. And in 2020, when COVID was happening, we were really facing a lot of challenges. But despite that, we firmly believe that our students should have an internship experience at their first year. We are probably the first business school in Singapore that have a mandatory internship for all our students in first year, and maybe the first in the world as well. Now, in doing so, we want you to have the best experience after your studies to be able to apply your studies. At the same time, be exposed to the different industries out there. And because of that, we endeavor to give our year one students as much help as possible. Number one, to bring them internships, which is credit bearing. Number two, we will also train you for your internships in preparing you for the workplace, because I think at my time, it's really scary to be 18 years old, 21 years old, and to be going out and get your first corporate job out there. And so we prepare you well. We prepare you to be career ready at your first year. And because of that, we are also working with many, many corporate partners in various industries to ask them to give you opportunities as well. And because of our relationships with these corporate partners who are our education partners, we have created many internships for our students. In 2020, about 50% of our students, first-year students, went on internships, and that was a very difficult time despite COVID. Currently, we are looking at about 70% of our year one students already securing an internship, and they're all out there during the summer period, which actually just started last week in the internship. Now, I think our first-year students who have gone through the internship in 2020, despite COVID, were so appreciative that they then were so motivated to get a year two internship. So currently, they are actually on track, and many of them actually have a year two internship as well during this vacation period. Now, the school actually almost guarantees your internship for you. If you are not able to do it in year one, you have the summer period, you have the winter period. We have also created part-time internships. We have also created what we call the 6 months internships for you. So you will be able to get an internship in your year one, if not in your year two. And this is also to help you to be more self-directed when you're going into your senior years. I think I also would like maybe the alumni to speak about it, because those times were also just as tough as well in getting internships.
Edward, do you want to start? Would you like to start and say something?
Sure. I actually only did one internship while I was in school. That was in Silicon Valley. So I am not in the best position to comment on this compared to Dogan. But
and how long was your internship with at Silicon Valley? How long was that?
So I did it for 6 months. So my degree is a 4-year program, but you have the option to accelerate into 3.5 years and compress it. So that's what I did. So I could actually graduate on time in 4 years. And so there's quite a lot of flexibility within the curriculum to try to play around, at least while I was in school, to play around with the curriculum and modules in a way where you can overload on certain terms. And this gives you bandwidth to actually do a longer internship during that period of time, which is very, very different from many other schools, and it really opened my eyes in a very different way. I really enjoy the flexibility within the curriculum in terms of playing around and letting me kind of bounce out of the country even during term time to kind of go for conferences, to live in different countries, and to do business meetings. So I started gift funds while I was in school, actually. Yeah, but I think if you're using internship as like as a proxy for working experience and things like that, I think the school really gives a lot of flexibility for that. But I think Dogan, resident internship expert, would be able to comment.
Thanks, Edward. Since we're talking about internships, I have to say that I'm very passionate about this topic because I think it's really an opportunity for students to explore what their career interests are without committing to a job. And in school, you really have so many holidays to try different internships. And every single internship, you will learn something, not just about the company, not just about the industry, but also about yourself. So now with that caveat out of the way, let me answer the first question, which is what happens if we fail to secure an internship? I think, firstly, the career office is there to support you. They were there to support me throughout my 4 years. And as Linda mentioned, there would be internships that the school would push to you via the career portal. And there will also be internships that are available to all students to apply independently. Something that I think has not been mentioned is the fact that NBS also trains you to be relentlessly resourceful. And what that means is they will train you to apply to internships on your own independently. So not everything is spoon-fed, and you do have some autonomy in finding your own internship as well. So to bring that to life, I think at the end of my first semester in school, I already wanted to do an internship. So after 4 months in school, knowing very little about business, I went around looking for an internship. And no one wanted to hire me, but once I said that, hey, I'm willing to work for free, I started getting interviews and offers. So that's definitely one way you can make yourself more employable, even if you only have 4 months in school. So that's just a quick anecdote. And I think if there are any students out there that are looking for an internship right now, my company is still hiring. So feel free to drop me a message on LinkedIn if you're interested. Going to the second question about extension, I think there are a lot of ways to play this actually. So for myself, I was part of the 4-year program, but I finished my program in 3.5 years. And then I took 6 months off to do a internship in China, as I mentioned in my sharing. So that's one way you could do it. Another way you can do it is also to extend your graduation period. So you can actually, you don't have to graduate in 3 years. You can graduate in 3.5 years. You can graduate in 4 years, especially if you're not sure what you want to do yet. So at the start of my sharing, I guess, internships give you that chance to explore a career. And if this is something you want to do, the school is very supportive as well. And the fact that NBS is a 3-year program, it's also an additional benefit because say if you go to another university, they have a 4-year period. So even if you delay graduation by 1 year, you're not really losing out in that sense. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for your wonderful replies. And I just want to kind of pick up on what Dogan just said about, his company is still hiring, so feel free to drop him a line. And I think that's such a wonderful real-life example of how our NBS alumni network works. You see, that's exactly how it works. And this one, I think I will bring up the question on a work-study degree program. I'm bringing it up because NBS, we are very excited about work-study degree programs, and this gives, I think, an opportunity to kind of talk about it a little. Would you like to take that question? This question asks, can NTU's work-study degree program for accountancy students count as working experience to meet the 3-year work experience needed to become a chartered accountant?
Okay, so maybe to give the background, if you want to become a chartered accountant in Singapore, okay, you have to complete the professional examination. And there are 5 modules. And on top of completing the 5 professional exam modules, you are supposed to also clock up 3 years of working experience with an approved training organization. And so by right, you have to do that post-graduation. In other words, you have to graduate, okay, have the Bachelor of Accountancy, start your professional exam, and work for 3 years before you qualify fully as a chartered accountant. But because of the work-study degree program that we are rolling out, okay, we have been in talks with Singapore Accountancy Commission. They are actually willing to recognize up to 6 months of your internship that you do under the work-study degree program as part of your 3 years working experience requirement. So that's a good news for all of you. All right, you can actually get at least 6 months of your work-study degree program internship recognized as fulfillment of the 3 years requirement.
Okay, thank you, Kin Yu.